Happy Saturday, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. How are you guys out there doing today? Hello, hello, hello. Hello, welcome to the broadcast. Thank each and every one of you for joining. Invite your followers and your networks. I'm so glad you're joining me today. I am Sparkle Smith. I am a writer, and I help individuals and communities heal through writing and education. Again, I'm Sparkle Smith. I'm a writer. I help individuals and communities heal through writing and education. Thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate you tonight. Let me just get right down to it. So, last couple broadcasts, I spoke about strengthening your core. Before that, I talked about strengthening your immune system. And with the weather climate being really weird these past couple months, Chicago experienced a polar vortex. Thanks for coming in. I'm Sparkle Smith. I'm a writer. I help individuals and communities heal through writing and education. But as we are on the horizon of this polar vortex experience in the Midwest of the United States, Chicago experienced it. The northern states experienced it. Minnesota experienced it. There was still even sub-zero weather in March in the northern states. Even though it's rather cold still during this time, it's very abnormal to experience sub-zero temperatures at this time. And so a lot of people, whether they're in the East Coast, West Coast, I talk to people East Coast, New Jersey, California, Midwest, everywhere. Some people, not all, but a lot of them experience a pattern of flu symptoms, cold symptoms. So because of that, they need to strengthen their core, strengthen their immune system so that they can fight off this common strand that's floating around here in the nation. So I shared about, if you can look at the past broadcasts, I shared about different ways to strengthen your immune system, more water intake. Make sure your food when you're cooking at home or at the restaurant is fully cooked, not medium rare, so that parasites won't get into your system and shake up your immune system. Also, exercise, of course, washing your hands thoroughly, of course, monitoring your alcohol content. And one of the ways most people didn't realize that you can strengthen your immune system is through writing. Writing about your emotions, and sometimes you don't know how to start. There's a pattern with that. You have to break down barriers. You can't be afraid. But once you get into that place, research and clinical research has shown that those people who do so have a stronger immune system, they excel better, and they have a positive increase in every area of their life. And so that I was sharing with you that on the last broadcast. Then I went into strengthening your core. Now, when you exercise, there's a lot of talk about strengthening your core. Most people don't know this, but if you don't, even if you're exercising your heavy weights does not always necessarily strengthen your core. You can still work out and still end up with a flaky immune system. A lot of people don't realize that. Yes, you can still work out and do all those weights, but if you're not doing cardio, fat burning, doing those exercises where you're getting on the floor, and like push-ups, for example, that's really designed to strengthen your core. Or breathing exercises like holding in your stomach, inhaling, exhaling for several periods of time. That's going to strengthen your immune system, right? And so we all may be aware, may not be. There's certain exercises that you can do to strengthen your immune system, your physical immune system. But what about the immune system of your soul, your core? And what is your soul? It's your mind, your thought process, the way you think, the thoughts you reject, the thoughts you accept, the thoughts you think about, how you analyze, perceive, process things, how you make decisions, small decisions, big decisions, life-changing decisions. Thank you so much for coming in to the broadcast. I'm Sparkle Smith. I am a writer. I help individuals and communities heal through writing and education. I so appreciate you coming in. And so we're talking about strengthening the core of your soul, and different ways to strengthen your body physically through exercise and different activities. But the core of your soul, your emotions, your mind, your will. It's your mind, your thought process, your patterns, how you make decisions. It's your emotions, how you feel, how you don't feel. It is the very essence of who you are. A lot of times we say that emotions are insignificant. Sometimes I think they can be blown out of proportion if you're hypersensitive, or sometimes it's very unhealthy if you're undersensitive. However, I don't think they're ever insignificant. I think they can be off balance, but they say a lot about you, because even your mental health can affect your emotional health. Your emotional health can affect your mental well-being. Actually starts at the core of your emotions. A lot of times people don't know how to process their emotions. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And when they don't, they get stuck. They get in a roadblock. They can get in a rut. And they may be in survival mode in life, or developing coping mechanism just to survive, and they don't feel like they have a space or place or time or space and time to even build a platform to think about their emotions, to process them. There's so much fear around it, for several reasons. They don't want to be vulnerable. They don't want to, I don't know. They don't know how. They don't know how to walk out the journey, pretty much. Because, and I can understand it, because if you're dealing with some emotions and you don't process them properly, let's say if you're trying to and you really don't know how, but you just start maybe by writing something down, talking about your emotions. If you don't process that thing properly, you're just opening it up. And it's not processed, that could make you vulnerable, right? But we have to be intentional. We have to have a made-up mind to come to the forefront with these things and deal with them, because guess what? If we don't deal with them, they will deal with us. I'll say that again. If we don't deal with them, they'll deal with us, and they'll come out in subtle ways that we know that there's something there. But again, some people don't have a space to deal with it. They're afraid. They don't know how to get guidance and direction to deal with those things. So they're just really doing the best they can. And life is so busy and so demanding, and so can be so impersonal sometimes, to where you're just going through the motions, trying to survive, trying to, stay abreast, stay afloat, and overcome trauma, overcome things that affect you the best way you can. And sometimes you think that just touching those things, if you don't know how to, can open a can of worms, and you're absolutely right. If you don't know how to, it can open a can of worms. However, there's a stage and a place and a space and time, a platform, and correct ways of handling those issues, because you want to be your best self, right? I think sometimes when we're not healed internally, it affects our mindset, it affects our will to do things, right? And that's the core of who we are, our soul. So we have to begin to build the muscles of our soul in certain areas, break down that fear, begin to write some things, be honest about things. Don't just brush it off and say, oh, no big thing. Oh, yeah, right. If that hurt you, it hurt you. It hurt me. Now, I'm not going to stay in it, but I'm going to be honest with myself. It hurt. I was frustrated. I thought I deserved this. That person in the checkout was just not nice to me. I'm going to call that manager. Next time I'm going to deal with it face to face. I'm not going to walk in fear. What fears do I need to overcome? Why is it still a fear? That type of things of that nature. And so, like I said, it's very imperative that we have this dialogue with ourselves. If we never, ever, ever even talk to the person, it's very important. And sometimes we don't. We need to process things. We don't need to head on deal with it, because either we will snap on someone, and we probably feel it's rightly so, because they were out of order, and we may be a point we can't take no more. We just snap. Or it may just affect us in a way that's unhealthy, or that we don't need, and it's blocking our own progress, right? So it's very important to write these things down, and as we begin to write them down, and not be afraid, because they're very different barriers. You may have grew up in a home where you're told to be quiet, children should be seen, not heard, shut up, dry them tears up. You may just live life or be in environments, maybe home environment, work environment, where you're not allowed to express your emotions and you have to be guarded and things. And so that frames the way you interact and connect, or the lack of connection. So it's very important, it's very imperative to be willing to seek out ways to manage your emotions, because people don't realize this either. You may have different goals in your life, and you start and you stop, you start and you stop, you start and you stop, and you're like, what in the world is this? I have so much potential, I have so much knowledge, I'm gifted. I have a lot of knowledge and wisdom, a wealth of information to offer. And when I say offer, I'm talking about in your work, in your professional areas that you want to be in, that you're not in. You may have a lot to offer to change and impact the spheres of influence that you are fit for, right? And so, but because of barriers, blockage, things of that nature, it's like, I don't know how to get past this. Or you start something, you stop something. And maybe there's some emotional, mental roadblocks that have not been processed, because there's no space to talk about it. There's no space to get past those things because you don't know how. Now, some people say counseling is good, therapy is good. I would never, ever oppose any of that, right? But research has shown that writing, getting your pen and your paper, writing your emotions, making sentences to it, making a connection, breaking down those things, writing and processing your feelings about certain situations, have been proven to change and affect and impact your life, your goals, your drive, your stamina to finish that goal, no matter how hard and hellish it may seem to finish it, right? And so there's an individual, she's a world-renowned, and I can't think of her name, she's a world-renowned writer, right? She's actually a professor, East Coast. She lives in New York. Her husband died back in 2012, just suddenly, unexpected. And she began to, the way she began to tell people to write to heal their own souls, she had to actually put it to the test in her own life, because of that grieving stage, that process, that loss that she experienced. She had to begin to get out a piece of pen and paper and find her way emotionally to bring healing to the situation, to bring closure to the situation, right? And a lot of you may be out there experiencing some type of grief. It may be loss of a loved one, a parent, family member, spouse, or whatever. Or you may be grieving the loss of a relationship. That could be through divorce. It can be through intimate relationship. It can even be through friendships, because sometimes when you're in a friendship with a person, years and years and years, and you're moving in a different direction, they're moving in a different direction, and one or two of the parties decide to sever, and sometimes based on how the severance take place, it can really affect you, and sometimes we just move on and say, okay, I'm not gonna, I don't have time for this. I'm just going to move on. And that's good to move on. But at the same time, be clear on how that made you feel. Why you need to talk about how it made you feel. What you can do to overcome any negative obstacles of those feelings. And how it could make you a better person. And how you can even be in a mature place. You may not even talk to that person anymore, right? Or have any contact with them. But, maybe if you see them once upon a time in life, it won't sting so much, right? If you've dealt with those emotions, if you've forgiven. A lot of times we think, okay, I don't have to forgive them. They were wrong. They were trifling. No. But actually, there's this cliche, unforgiveness is I forgot how it goes. It's the poison that we drink, hoping another person will die, right? Actually, what it is we are so appalled by their behavior. We're upset, and we it's normal to be upset, right? We have every right to be upset, but that upset seduces us, controls us, to the point where we're bitter, and it just affects our atmosphere, right? And we want to progress, not digress, right? So when you forgive, it doesn't say, "Oh, I agree with what you did. Step on me some more." You know what I'm saying? Let me give you my other foot so you can stomp on it again. You know what I'm saying? Let me give you my other cheeks you can smack. No, that's not what it means. But what it means is that, this is too heavy in my heart, and it's not going to affect my health. You know what I'm saying? What you did was wrong, but it's not going to affect my health. It's not going to create a toxic environment for my own self and the progress in my life. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to release you the best way I can. Sometimes we can verbalize it, but we really don't walk the walk to process it. And I'm not telling you anything that I don't deal with myself as far as being challenged to confront the thing, right? I get out my paper every week, right? Because you can experience different emotions, different encounters, different experience throughout life. That's everyone, right? And just as I'm telling you, you need to write down your emotions. You need to process your emotions. You need to, build your muscle of being in touch with those emotions by writing them down, providing sentences to them, so that you can move forward, right? A lot of people get enraged and they're full of anger because they don't know how to process their emotion. I had a friend a long time ago. She said that her first husband was abusive physically with her. She called the police, and they made him get into some type of anger management program. And he said once he got out of it, it changed his life because they sat there and made him, look, tell us how you feel. What are you feeling? And why do you feel this way? And he would begin to write. And he would say, I feel this way because. I feel this way because. I'm sad because. I'm angry because. I'm happy because. And I think this is going to affect this. And he said what it did, it was the best thing that ever happened to him. At the time, she said he was upset. He was cursing around. He was just pissed off, right? How dare you call the police on me? Because, they dealt with that over and over again, right? With the physical abuse or whatever. And so she just had enough, and she called police. And the anger management program, he said it just changed his life because it gave him meaning to his feelings. And that way he was not as enraged as he had been. And he found another way to process, you know what I mean? Because we don't want to just go through life coping. We want to process. And all that is so easier said than done, I'm getting on here saying things to you, and I could be hypocritical. And the very thing I'm telling you to do, I won't do. But that's not the case. And I think, I hope this provides meaning to you, and this content will help. You will make a decision, because it's all about the decision, right? Your soul, your mind, making a decision, opening your heart, having a space and value of yourself enough to want to have a space to write and have a dialogue for yourself. If you never show anybody anything on a piece of paper, write it down for you so you can change and be healthier. Who wants to be sick? A lot of sicknesses, and I'm not saying that that's the only reason why we get sick. That's the only reason why people get cancer, diabetes, and all type of heart disease and different ailments because of emotions. But that has a strong impact, especially cancer. For years, I've been hearing people say your emotional well-being can affect cancer. Offense, bitterness, those, have an impact on, someone dealing with cancer. So it's not just about the other person. It's not just being a punk or being pushed over and all that type of stuff. We need to deal with us so that we can be the better person that we desire, point blank, right? You want things, you want to get there. You know what I'm saying? There's a set of instructions on you getting there that you can't go around, you can't go under. You may have a a portion of what you want, but it won't be in the full measure and the full capacity of that which you desire, because you don't want to take on the responsibility of getting the courage to deal with the skin you're in the compartments of your soul. Sometimes caregivers do this too. I did a couple of broadcasts some time ago about caregiving and self-care. And a lot of times caregivers, they neglect themselves, They're ripping and running. They're taking care of people who are, brutally sick or elderly, loved one parent. It could be a spouse. It could be a child with special needs. And they're just running themselves in the ground, taking care of them. And guess what? Your health falls to the ground. You're not going to be able to take care of them. Sometimes, though, people even take on that caregiving stuff. Oh, I want to care for somebody. Oh, I want to be here for someone, because they don't want to deal with themselves, right? I can hide behind caring for this person, and not saying that the care is not sincere, but, this gives me a sense of meaning. This gives me a sense of belonging because I'm caring for this person. But I'm running ragged and I'm looking raggedy. There's no balance in that, right? So we want to be intentional about caring for ourselves. Now, sometimes people are just doing the best they can, especially when they have a loved one that's very sick, definitely sick. They may have MS. They may just be, handicapped, wheelchair bound, whatever. You're doing the best you can. God, speed, pray for you that God just opened the door for miracles for people to even help you, right? So that they have mercy upon you and say, okay, this person needs help because they're helping this person. And they're the only person that they have. And, we need to intervene, because if they're down, the other person's going to go down. They're both going to go down. We don't need that, right? But sometimes, we take on things, extra things. I'll pick up so-and-so from practice. Somebody else can do that, right? Why do you have to always do, I'm going to cook all the food this week? Well, if there's more than a couple people in your household and they know how to cook, then, they need to be taking turns. They need to value you enough so that you don't run ragged and you do what you need to do, right? To help. Before I forget, there's a link in my bio. I don't think you can click on it. I have to work something out with the technical things of that. However, bit.ly/planning to heal. Again, that's bit.ly/planning to heal. And if you go there to the bit.ly/planning to heal, you will sign up for the webinar that I'm having April 15th. I need to make a correction. I think it says March 15th, but it's actually April 15th. Having a webinar April 15th. And this webinar actually talks about the reasons why it's important to write to heal, how to overcome those fears of writing and fears of dealing with your emotions, right? It talks about the importance. I'll also walk you through some exercises, and you don't even have to share with the whole audience on the webinar, but I'll walk you through some exercises whereby you will start this process, right? Sometimes people don't know. They want to do it, right? They want to heal. They want to write here. They want to make the next step. They just don't know how. So even before you get off the webinar, you will be able to at least talk about two, emotional challenges or feelings or things you want to process, and I'll direct you to walking you how to do that. And that's for free in this webinar. Again, bit.ly/planning to heal, or go to bit.ly/web to heal. If someone can put that up there, thank you. bit.ly/planning to heal, or bit.ly/web to heal. You don't want to miss this webinar. You'll also get a free worksheet, $5 value, about goal setting and different roadblocks and how to tackle those roadblocks. You have to not walk in fear. Come to terms, be honest with yourself. not to expose your backside to other people, because I know how it is when you expose yourself and you open up yourself to people. Some people, they can have a predatory mindset. Let's just be clear. And that's not even relational wise or, real life predator wise. Some people just have that way of, that's their defense mechanism, survival, where they look at your weaknesses and then they just amp it up to either make themselves look good or to strengthen their way to move up. I mean, yeah, it happens. It happens in jobs, corporate America, just happens in different areas, right? It can happen in family, relationships. So who wants to deal with that, right? However, you need to be well for you. And if that means being vulnerable, you may not have to be invulnerable to other people, showing your backside to them, but it can be where you have a space, a private space to say it's okay for me to be vulnerable. It's okay for me to touch these different areas that I need processing, that I need healing, so that when, the winds blow, the lightning flashes, you won't be shipwrecked, right? And so, because a lot of times people suffer mental illness because of emotional encounters that they've experienced, not having a place to process it, and those emotional encounters become trauma, and that trauma, if it's repetitive, it becomes abuse, right? So it's important that you be a healthier you, so that you can live longer, so that you can achieve those goals that you desire, so that you can be the best, healthiest you that you desire to be, right? So that requires planning, that requires overcoming those struggles that you don't want to overcome, or that you're prideful about. You say, no, it's not me, it's the other person. Yes, the other person, but you know what? The man in the mirror, you got to deal with your stuff too, right? That's why I talked about in some scopes about planning, writing, goal setting, but mainly some of the roadblocks to goal setting are emotional barriers. And one of the ways to overcome it is writing through healing, right? What experiences and traumas have hindered your planning? What have you dealt with? What have you not dealt with? Like I said, relationships. Sometimes we know what we need, but we don't know how to approach it, right? Our actions, our behavior, our emotional well-being can affect our productivity at work, in relationships, in family, and our commitments. Review your checklist, review your emotion, even when you're journaling, and you can go ahead and look back, okay, well, I progressed, I've done well, I've matured, because we want to be in a place of maturity. We don't want to be the same people we are 20 years ago. We was 20, 18, however old we were, right? We're still more or less that person, but the nature and the maturity, it has to be thriving. It has to be developing, right? God is not the author of confusion, right? And so since he's not the author of truth, he wants us to not be confused and scramble in our emotions, and confused and scramble in our direction in our life. He wants us to be organized, right? Because it's critical to destiny. Are you doing anything that overwhelms you that you need to reflect that's hindering your progressing? Do you need a counselor, a coach? Do you need a retreat? Sometimes vacations can help. Sometimes retreats can help. I think retreats more so. Everybody needs a vacation, but a retreat more so is intentional. Vacation is to have fun and relax, but a retreat is intentional. You're getting away. You're not in the same setting and environment. You're probably in a hotel. You're probably in a lodge, a cabin, or whatever. But you're being intentional on work, and you're probably in workshops, and you're writing, and you're doing that type of thing, right? You have a goal to accomplish mentally, emotionally, even professionally. Sometimes people have professional retreats. What are the 5 stages of grief? When you're dealing with grief, you should determine which stage of grief are you dealing with that's obstructing your progress and goal setting and moving on to the next phase of your life. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance, right? And a lot of times we're in denial about our own stuff, right? Because we don't think that bad, we're that bad of a person, right? Because we accepted on our end what they did, and after all, we were just doing the best we can, right? Well, as delusional as the other person may feel, they probably thinking the same thing. That could be work relationship, family relationship, intimate relationship, marriage. It can be on whatever level, right? But we need to realize, are we in denial about our own feelings? Are we in denial about the other person or the other party? What are we angry about? Why are we angry? Is it an angry battle, or are we just angry just because? What are we bargaining with? Okay, I know this and this and this, but I ain't ready to go there and deal with that. And then, we're depressed about the whole thing. But there comes a point in time that we process all that and we come to the acceptance, right? We want to get to the stage of acceptance, because if we get to the stage of acceptance, that we're healing, we're standing up with the courage. You know what I'm saying? And you may not even have all the courage, and that's okay. You know what I'm saying? And you don't have to tell it to everybody. You can tell it to yourself, to your pen and your paper, right? And it takes sacrifice. What are you willing to sacrifice on a consistent basis? A great way. A lot of people don't even realize this, and this is like the chapter sheet that connects even to the writing process. You're writing to heal. You're writing down what you want, right? Those things that you're dealing with that you need to heal, what you want to overcome emotionally, right? So you can be better you mentally, and you have a better drive in your will. So totally the core of your soul, you're building the muscles of your soul to be strengthened and protected, right? But at the same time, oftentimes, even with that, we need to be clear on and honest. Am I willing to write all this stuff down? Also, affirmation. Affirmation is like a declaration, like, for example, the Declaration of Independence. It makes it a declaration to this nation, to those that affected the nation, to those that tried to hinder the nation, right? And declarations can change atmospheres, it can change laws, it can change the destiny and fate of individuals, right? And I am a witness to attest that every time that I make an affirmation or declaration about something that I'm stuck in, or I have a roadblock about, that I want that situation to change. It can be in my professional life, business, personal life. I begin to affirm, write those down. What I desire, the success of that thing that I desire, right? For example, my professional, I had a business, and I still have that business, and I wanted to move up in that business, and I would just write, I do X, Y, Z, so I can make this amount of money, blah, blah, blah. Those are just some goals that I have, right? You write those down, you begin to confess it. What are you doing? You're changing your atmosphere. You're changing it to not, I can't get ahead, tired of this, or I'm broke, or I'm this. No, you're changing your atmosphere, and you're speaking exactly what you need to come into fruition. And once you begin to speak it, and you don't accept those other things, it's always good to talk about how you feel. But once you process it, then you reverse it. I'm hurt, I'm depressed, I'm angry. But no, I'm confident. I'm healthy. I've dealt with those things. I've wrestled with those emotions. I've come to terms with those things. I'm in a mature place now, right? And there's nothing coming and going that's going to break my emotional maturity, balance, and stability, And be kind to yourself as far as writing good things about yourself. I love me. I'm my authentic self. I love who I am. I'm kind to myself. I'm not giving up on myself. I love my life. I'm a better me. Write down 3 things that you're good at, your goals, your actions, and what you're going to need to achieve those goals and actions. You're going to need discipline, diligence, focus, consistency. And even learn how to affirm someone else. Maybe you could your life. So thank you for coming in. I appreciate you. God bless you. bit.ly/planning to heal. Again, that's bit.ly/planning to heal. You don't want to miss that. webinar, April 15th. Free of charge. You want to be a better you. You want to strengthen your physical core, your emotional core, or one or the other, but also your emotion as well. You want to come to the place of being strengthened in who you are, and you want to, break that fear of coming to terms and processing your emotions. You want to build legacy, and you want to achieve your goals. You don't want to miss that webinar. Beyonce.ly/planning to heal. God bless. I will talk to you soon.